The mysterious origins of the Titans is beginning to become clear, as in this week's episode of Attack on Titan, we delve into the backstory of Ymir. That's right, another week, another episode of Attack on Titan, and they continue to spoon-feed us that very crucial information which is going to lead us to the answers that are the origins of Attack on Titan. This week's episode, honestly, I thought was a lot better than last week's. We actually got a little bit of story development, not just a bunch of Eren and Reiner screaming in trees. But if you still wanted more of that, guess what? You're gonna get it. In fact, Eren manages to punch Reiner right in the face without even having any hands. That's a pretty damn big accomplishment. But most of this episode is dedicated to the backstory of Ymir. That certainly is the backbone of this week's episode. Most of it was just watching Reiner, Bertholdt, Eren, and Ymir desperately try to escape from the Survey Corps, with all of them having a pretty clear plan, which is to not get caught. That is, of course, except for Ymir, who is desperately doing everything in her power to get Krista back, even going as far as to trying to screw over both Reiner and Bertholdt, even if it means having a big ol' fight-to-the-death Titan style. Seeing as how her Titan form allows her to move oh so nimbly-bimbly through the trees, they actually do allow her to transform into her Titan form, and at the very end of this week's episode, she eats Krista, which is to say that she actually ends up catching her in her mouth, which to Ymir is probably something on a sexual level, but it's really damn surreal to see Reiner transform into the Armored Titan, and then watching Ymir, who just a couple of episodes ago was with the Survey Corps, now teaming up with him by jumping on his back for a little bit of a joyride. That's basically the main progression of this week's episode, but the most crucial stuff comes from Ymir's background. It's made pretty clear in this week's episode that Ymir has been around for a very long time. In fact, according to her, she was in her initial Titan form for upwards of 60 years. Apparently, at some point in the past, she was an orphan child who was found by this weird cult religion which turned her into this, like, living god. But then the police came in, they shut down this whole organization, they captured Ymir with a number of other people who were followers in this group, and they tossed them over the side of a wall where they seemingly transformed into Titans. It's heavily implied during this scene that right as they're kicked over the edge, they're implanted with some sort of weird thing that transforms them into these giant mindless man-eating beasts. I'm really curious about this scene, to know that there was actually this weird militaristic organization that had the ability to transform people into Titans. However, shit gets even crazier after this as Ymir wanders this world for over 60 years until eventually she collapses, passes out, and eventually gets covered by the earth and the soil. When suddenly we go back to that crucial scene where Reiner, Bertholdt, and their friend were making their way to the walls. What's interesting is we get to see that Annie was also with them this time, and this is the moment where Ymir actually devoured their friend alive. Then we just cut to this random-ass scene where she's in the middle of the desert and she's a human again, looking up into the sky, reborn as someone new. And this is a very crucial point to her character, as she's been very adamant about the fact of admitting who she truly is. Before, she was content to be a part of some weird religious cult where she had a bed to sleep, plenty of food to eat, and everybody depended on her and loved her. However, this ended up biting her in the ass and she ended up transforming into a weird freaky-deaky kaiju beast. But now that she has regained her humanity, she's decided to hold on to it as much as she can, but to also live for who she truly is. This, combined with her relationship with Krista, who again is very similar to her in that she does have a real personality, but she's constantly trying to hide it, just really deepens the complex relationship of these two characters and makes it all the more interesting. And without a doubt, it makes it one of the cornerstones of this season of Attack on Titan. And it's an important thing to think about because, yeah, we're almost done with this season, and man, I just want so much more. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Attack on Titan? So many answers, and yet still so many questions. I think one of the most crucial things about this episode, however, is getting to learn a little bit more about the evolutionary process of what it means to be a Titan shifter. Now, I'm not quite sure how to put the pieces of the puzzle together quite yet, but I'm going to theorize that Reiner and Bertholdt's friend also had the ability to transform into a Titan, and something about eating a Titan shifter allowed Ymir to revert back to her normal human form. I don't know if this is the case for every single character, if they've all been wandering around for all these years, ate someone else who had the ability to transform. Maybe it's when they simply just eat another Titan. It's kind of hard to say, but it's really interesting because we go from that one scene where they eat Reiner and Bertholdt's friend, and then all of a sudden she's in the middle of the desert naked. It's weird. I don't really know what to make of any of it, but it's a surprisingly dark backstory. That coupled with the fact that we get to see a part of the world we've never seen before in the past, run by this militaristic organization that had the ability to inject people with some sort of weird serum which transformed them into Titans. And why they did this in the first place, I have no idea. It's like they're making enemies for themselves. I guess they figure since they're tossing them over the side of the wall, they're giving them one hell of a punishment, but really they're just setting themselves up to fall even harder. And I just want to learn more. It's as simple as that. A lot of the tension in this episode certainly came from that big chase scene at the end when they're running through the forest and Ymir is threatening to take both of them down and kill them, even if it means she doesn't get to see Krista again, demanding that this is the perfect opportunity to get Krista, but Reiner's not one for this plan at all. He knows that something could go completely wrong, and if they fuck it up here, they're probably going to be screwed. But Ymir admits that she is a very bad person for doing this, but she will do anything in her power to at least see Krista one more time. The scene, of course, where she appears, too, and looking in the forest, desperately trying to find her friend, is creepy as hell. She still manages to have some semblance of herself, but the minute Krista arrives and she swallows her, she goes into full-on Titan mode and just escapes to the forest in a sequence that is very thrilling and incredibly well animated. That, combined with her backstory, truly made this a very Ymir-centric episode, but I really liked it a lot, as I had no idea that she was going to be this important to the actual origins of the Titans. There's so much more about the past of the series that we don't know, and I can't wait to learn a little bit more about that. On the technical side of things, this was another solid-looking episode of the series. It also had much better pacing and a lot of really great memorable sequences, which makes great use of a combination of the animation, the artwork, the color, and most importantly, the music. I know a lot of people love the music from Attack on Titan, and I totally understand why. It enhances just about every single scene, and it's even better when they can take an existing song that was already popular, remix it, and use it in a completely different way. The scene where Ymir wakes up in the desert is just a stark and beautiful scene that I frankly just cannot describe. It's such a freeing, fulfilling moment for her character. She truly is reborn in that moment, and you really do feel relieved for her, considering all of the things that she has gone through. But the fact that she's been around for so long is just even crazier. She started as a human, she became a mindless Titan, and eventually learned how to be able to transform back into a human and back into a Titan again. It's a complex thing, but I can't wait to learn more about it and see how far she's willing to go to actually help out Krista, and I'm still waiting for that moment where maybe she is actually going to betray both Reiner and Bertholdt and maybe even take Eren back. Things are not looking good for the main cast of the series, and considering we're this much closer to the finale of the season, shit's probably about to get real. And so this was a solid episode of Attack on Titan, which is getting me even more excited for the finale of the series. A lot faster paced than last week's episode. It still had some great action sequences, but mostly I appreciate this episode for all of Ymir's backstory, which is still very shadowy and has a lot of questions to it, but it's still got me hooked and I just cannot wait to learn more. So I'm going to drop a 5 out of 5 on this episode. If I had any complaints about it, they would only be superficial ones. This was a great story-centric episode, which also had a few cool action scenes attached to it. Check it out, Attack on Titan fans. If any of you did watch this week's episode, make sure to tell me what you thought about it in the comments section below. Were you excited to learn a little bit more about the origins of the Titans in this episode? How is Ymir connected to all of this? How did she even transform into a human again? What's the deal with that? Why was she in the middle of the desert? And what do you hope to see from the rest of the second season of Attack on Titan? Thank you guys for watching this review. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for all things Attack on Titan anime related. Please leave me a comment or two telling me what you thought about the episode, what you hope to see from the rest of the season, or if you want to talk with me about anything, I'm always down for a good conversation. If you like this video, make sure to slam that like button, but if you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, stay Dandel, baby!